right, everybody, welcome back. And we have my good friend and a man I've learned a lot from, Jeff Badu. Now, we've had him on before, and because it's Black History Month, we want to make sure that not only highlighting African American entrepreneurs, Black entrepreneurs who have been working in the field, whether it's 1 year, 10 years, doesn't matter there. We really want to focus on is their journey, how they got to where they are right now, and what they can share with all of us. And it's not just for African American and Black, entrepreneurs. This could be helpful to us all. But as we all know, specific struggles, unique struggles, and challenges to different groups, and we all have our own unique challenges that we face in all countries in all parts of the world. So we want to be sure that we can learn from each other's experience, how to help one another, whether we working one-on-one with them as mentors or working with them, virtually, like this as a virtual mentor. So Jeff, thank you so much for taking your time. I know it's really busy for y'all. It's tax season, so this man is super, super busy. Jeff, tell us about your business and how you got started in your field.
Yeah, thank you for that, Aaron. Appreciate you for having me on, and appreciate everybody for listening today as well. So my name is Jeff Badu. I'm a licensed certified public accountant, and I was born and raised in Ghana, came to the US when I was 8 years old. And fast forward, I attended the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign, where I received my bachelor's degree in accounting, as well as my master's degree in accounting. And while I was there, I was interning at PricewaterhouseCoopers or PwC, which was and still is one of the largest public accounting firms in the world. So I did that for a few years, eventually became full-time, but I was also working on my own business plan. And in September of 2016, I decided to leave PwC, the only company I've ever really worked at, to start my own business, my own CPA firm. And that's when I launched Badu Tax Services, LLC. And fast forward to today, it's a CPA firm, a tax firm that does tax preparation, tax planning, and tax representation services for individuals and businesses across all 50 states in the US. And we also have clients that are physically based in over 25 countries at the moment. We currently have, 3,000 plus clients within our database, team of about 20 people across 5 different countries. We focus on small business owners, entrepreneurs, most of them being real estate professionals.
Fantastic. And you definitely, now that just shows people right in a short amount of time, because you just called out that's 10 years, and you've grown to that a huge database of over 2,500 clients. What made you pursue your own accountancy, your own firm? Because we don't hear a lot. I know, I hate to say it, but when you think of entrepreneurs, a lot of people don't think of accounting entrepreneurs. They don't think of financial entrepreneurs. A lot of times they think of real estate, they think of marketing, they think of technology. What made you pursue entrepreneurship in your industry, your field?
Yeah, definitely. So it all goes back to my background in that my family, so I was born and raised in Ghana, right? In Ghana, being in West Africa, it's a very entrepreneurship heavy environment. Back to my purpose in life, which is to inspire and support the super hungry to take hold of infinite resources in order to create an abundant lifestyle. You really got to go out there and get it. You really got to go out there and hustle, hopefully the good hustle. And so basically, growing up, when I was young, I didn't really fully understand, why people were going out selling clothes and shoes and, fruits and things of that nature. I didn't really understand why they were doing that. We would, let's say my parents or my family would be driving, I'll be in the back seat, and I look out the window, I see people coming up to the car, selling something, right? And so I didn't really understand why they were doing it. And so when I was 8 years old, that's when I came to the US, and then, went through a few things, right, up until 16. That's when I took a trip back to Ghana and ultimately finally understood why people were doing that, because they needed to, right? Because if they didn't do those things, they could not feed their families. They could not put food on the table. And so I realized at that age that Ghana is a very entrepreneurship heavy environment. And so as I was growing up, that allowed me or motivated me to become an entrepreneur. And then secondly, my family is filled with entrepreneurs. My dad is a real estate developer in Ghana. My mom is a real estate developer in Ghana as well. She owns other businesses in addition to that. And yeah, being around people like them, I mean, show me your friends, show me your surroundings, and I'll show you your future. You are the average of the top 5 people you hang around with every single day. And so basically, I grew up around entrepreneurs and I wanted to become one. And then that fueled the fire. And basically, I took an assessment, a career assessment, to say, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? And taking that assessment, it led to accounting, accounting and finance. And that basically, I started doing more research and found it to be pretty good. I found that career to be pretty good, something that it was for me. And yeah, I did a lot of research, learned that most Fortune 500 CEOs have an accounting degree.
Right.
And so I was like, yeah, I want to become a Fortune 500 CEO one day, maybe in the future. And so all of that, inspired me to, when I started college, to form my business plan. And then 6 years or 5 years or so after that, that's when I launched Badu Tax Services. And so overall, it's a mixture between my background, my schooling, the assessments, my mentors, the people that were surrounding me.
Right.
That's what fueled me to become an entrepreneur.
Fantastic. And you brought up, for those who don't know PwC, I believe they are still one of the big four, or if not, maybe now it's big three, because I think a lot of consolidation has happened over the years. So it's probably just three of them now. There are a lot of people who look at those types of jobs, like working for an Accenture, or working for an IBM, or working for a Microsoft. That's their crowning achievement. Obviously you've gone beyond that by establishing a very well known and successful firm. What advice would you give to someone who is they've longed for working for a Microsoft, a Google, or something like that, but they know that entrepreneurial spirit is in them? That's a hard transition to leave that job, to leave that type of a career and go into your own field. What advice would you give to someone who's afraid of making that leap like you did? Because that's a heck of a leap, and that's an amazing accomplishment that you achieved there.
Yeah, definitely. And I would say it is a big leap. And to be quite frank, it was very, very scary, but there were a few things I had going on my side. And one, I had God on my side, and still have God on my side, who strengthens me to do all things. And so my faith, right, always strong, always has been strong, especially since I was 16 years old. Number two, I did not have a family, right? No wife, no kids, none of that, right? Still don't technically have a family to this day. That's something, that's one of the next phases of life, right? I do have a wife, beautiful wife. Shout out to Yvonne. But I did not have that back then, and so basically I could take on more risk. I did have a mortgage that I was paying. It was a very small mortgage, right? But I still had a mortgage. And so basically my big advice is, who are you doing it for, and why are you doing it? What's the prime purpose behind it? In that, yeah, you have to, sometimes you have to work these jobs to make money, to sustain yourself, to earn a living and build your career. So for me, I had to make the decision. I'll just share that, I was burnt out when I was at PwC. During the tax season, or I wasn't actually in taxes at PwC. Taxes was something I was doing on the side. I was an auditor for private companies. And so basically our busy season, which was January through, let's say, April or so, it was pretty taxing, right? It was pretty taxing, no pun intended, but overall, it took a toll on my body, and it let me know that I don't really want to do something like this where I have to go to work every single day, Monday through Friday. And believe it or not, we had to come in Saturday mornings as well. And yeah, the whole work life work, we call it life work imbalance. It wasn't a thing. And so, yeah, basically I would just say that, whatever you do, number one, have a plan for what it is that you do. Create a business plan, create a plan around something you love to do, and you can monetize off of it, make some good money off of it. It's not that money is the end all be all, but of course we need money to pay our bills and to create that abundant lifestyle. And so have a plan. Got to take risks in life. Everything is risky in life. Us sitting where we are, right? God forbid, knock on wood, anything can happen to us. Us crossing the street, anything can happen. Everything is risky. Just because you're not an entrepreneur doesn't mean you're not taking risk. You're actually taking a risk by having a W-2, because they can let you go nowadays at any given time. And that, to me, is extremely risky, because at least in business, you can go find a next client. Depending on how strong your reputation is, you can find it fairly rapidly. To find a job, you spend 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, sometimes 6 months finding the next job. So to me, that is extremely risky. But all in all, have faith, trust your gut, and whatever you're doing, please make sure you're doing it for the right thing
There you go.
and that it's tied to your God-given purpose on this planet.
Love that. No, love that message. That's actually absolutely perfect. You tied it right into the challenge that a lot of people do, or I should say the challenge that they think is going to be the
Mhm.
biggest problem is finding that next client and how to find clients. You touched on like the people that you're around and the network to help you find that guiding force of, oh yeah, entrepreneurial, entrepreneurial venture is right for me because I've seen it. I've been around it and around people all the time with it. So they kind of tie in together with networking. But I would love to get an idea from you, especially for your field. What are
Mhm.
some things or some pieces of advice that you could give to someone who's looking for that next client, maybe even looking for that first client just to get them started? And if they're, doing taxes or accounting, what's a great way to go about finding clients and building out that client list?
Yeah, definitely. I would say, grind, grind, grind. When I started out, it was a grind. I was a young entrepreneur. I was 24 years old at the time and really had nothing to my name as far as a reputation. I was a college party promoter,
Yeah.
when I was at college, right? So I had that going.
Right.
So I guess one lesson in that in itself is tap into your existing network, the people that you do know.
There you go.
But what's more important than people it's who knows you. And
Okay.
so basically make sure that as you're building your career, you are out there networking, you're truly networking because your network is your net worth in a way.
Yeah.
Because the amount of people that know you truly determines the monetary value that is assigned to you usually. And so the more people know you, right, the more people can flow you, the more people that can ultimately, increase your wealth. Remember,
Mhm.
money is not the end all be all, but we know in business, we got to make some money, right? And so with that being said, go out and network, and when you're networking, try to go to groups that are relevant to your target client base or the type of people you want to meet with. So yeah, you can go out, network, and go to 100 events,
Right.
but if they're not related to what it is you're trying to do,
Yeah.
then it's going to be hard to actually get a client out of it. Now,
Yeah.
sometimes you may just need to spin your wheels a bit in the beginning. Part
Right.
of business is figuring things out. I was meeting with a client yesterday and I say, yeah, you don't have to know all the answers today,
Exactly.
right? It's about figuring it out sometimes. You do have a coach, myself, to help you
There you go.
avoid some of those mistakes you would have made 20 years from now.
Hmm.
However, yeah, just going out, putting yourself out there, and then share with the world your knowledge, your education. For me, I created a website, jeffbadu.com, and I just started blasting articles, just writing articles, shooting content, videos. My cousin at the time, he owned a radio station.
Okay.
And so I was able to connect with him and actually get my own show on the station. And that was by putting myself out there, giving the education, the knowledge. And when you're starting off, especially, you're gonna have to give away free knowledge, free education.
Yep.
And that's so people can test you out and see what you're truly made of. And so, yeah, it's grind, 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 especially in the beginning. Network, 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 and put yourself out there in the way that is in a positive light and that you're sharing education, information that is tied to your field and adds value to people ultimately.
That that's absolutely fantastic. About because you tied it all back to the networking, but I love the way you put it that the people who know you and know about what you do. Because I talk about this all the time with entrepreneurs about don't be confusing, be very clear. Hey, this is what I do. This is what I'm about. This is what I'm trying to produce. Because it might not be the person that you're talking to. It could be like, hey, they know three people. Well, I know somebody who needs an accountant. I know somebody who needs a website. And speaking of website, I just want to because I've had this conversation recently. I want to say, and I'm not even exaggerating, about a dozen times, about 12 times just in the past 2 months, where people are still kind of going back and forth about having their own website for their business. And I was like, now it doesn't even seem like that's a question. I'm surprised I'm still having that conversation. You said you had your own website. When did you start your website for your business? That's very interesting.
Yeah, definitely. I started my website before I even started the business.
There you go.
This was back in 2015. Started the business in 2016.
Right.
And the website was launched in 2015. This was my personal website though, right? With the
Yeah.
content. But yeah, you do want to have at a minimum your brand, your first name, last name.com. You want to secure
Right.
that and start building that brand, that personal brand, because your business brand is basically a reflection really of your personal brand.
100%. 100%. Now, y'all understand, you did not hear that from me. I know I keep saying it. Y'all think, well, Aaron, you're just trying to get us to make sure we hire you to buy a website. No, I'm telling you to protect your name, protect your brand out there. We're more online than ever. Like he said, your first name, last name, at the least, have that. What does a typical day from your perspective as an entrepreneur, what does your typical day look like? Is it, hey, I can wake up any time of the day and work 5 minutes and I'm a millionaire? Or like, what was a typical day look like in the life of a person running their own accounting firm and working with clients? Like you said, you even do coaching. So what does a typical day look like? Just give the reality to people for a minute.
Yeah, definitely. So my day looks a whole lot different now than it did 10 years ago or even 5 years ago. And I'll just share a few things. We run a business that, last year we did about 2.7 million in revenue or so as an accounting firm. I appreciate that. In our first year, 2016, we made $900, right? $900. And so imagine comparing today to 10 years ago. So my days look completely different now, but I'll just share it anyway, right? And that, number one, I do believe in life work imbalance, right? Where your life is 67% of your day and your work is 33% of the day. I work Monday through Friday. I do some light email check-in Saturday mornings for like 30 minutes or so. Sunday when I'm at church, I might pull out my phone and just do a quick light email, maybe 15 minutes or so.
Right.
And so for me, on a typical day, really Monday through Friday, so I use the 8-8-8 rule. 8 hours of my day is spent working. 8 hours of my day is spent on myself, right? Just personal stuff, time spent with my wife, eating, getting ready for work, right? Just stuff, anything that I do personally, watching movies.
Yeah.
And then the other 8 is spent sleeping, right? Resting, or at least that's what I usually hope for.
Right.
And it doesn't always work out that way, but basically it's 8-8-8. On average in a 5-day work week, I work 40 hours on average per week. I start my day at, from a work standpoint, I really start around 8 a.m. And nowadays I end it around, give or take 5:30 p.m.
Yeah.
And there's some breaks in between. So that allows me to get a full 8-hour workday in. I'll tell you this, 8 years ago, I used to work 12 hours a day, at least 12 to 15 hours a day.
Of course.
I had no work-life balance, life-work imbalance whatsoever. And so a typical day, basically, I'm getting up, basically doing my routine, getting ready and everything like that, which all counts towards my personal hours.
Right.
Then my work hours really starts. We have a morning meeting every day with our team at 8:30 a.m. Central. So that's when my official work day starts. And I take that through about 5:30 or so, give or take. And of course, during the work, nowadays I'm doing tax planning strategy meetings with clients. So I do tax planning meetings. I do coaching and development with the team. And then I do some administrative stuff, some administrative tasks. And then also I'm on the sales team now as well.
Of course.
And so I pretty much play 4 roles in the firm: tax planning, specialist, coaching and development. And then we have sales. And then, we have this miscellaneous 4th category, basically. Yeah. And so that's what I'm doing within that 8 hours. I have this thing called 6 commits, where each day I know 6 of the most important things, most important, least important, that I need to do. And I assign time blocks towards each thing. Right. So for example, one of my things today was to get on the show. So I assigned that's right to the show. Right. And
I appreciate being on that list. Thank you, sir.
Exactly. Yeah. And so pretty much, I have my 8-8-8. Right. And so after work, we call it after work rituals, dinner. I do work out 3 times a week. I have a home gym. I have a gym in my home. And so I don't have to go outside and, cold, snow, none of that. And I watch a lot of movies, watch a lot of shows, spending quality time with my wife. And then the last of my day is sleeping, right? So, basically I use the 8-8-8 rule. And then I have a book called 7 Figures, How to Become a Millionaire, where I break that down. But that was written about 5 or 6 years ago. And so my day has changed substantially since then, but the same concept still apply. But I would say maintain balance. But when you're in the beginning,
Yeah.
man, you got to really be in the trenches. I'm not
Yeah.
saying burn yourself out, but you do truly want to develop. Remember, we have a team of 20 people,
Exactly. It didn't
and
start
that
out that way though.
you not have to work as much. But if you count I do travel a lot. Last year, I traveled 4 months in a year for the first time in my life.
Okay.
And we had 25 team members, right? And so last year, on average, if you count holidays, vacations, weekends, worked on average of 20 hours per week.
Okay. And
Yes.
see, this is actually, and I'm glad you really broke it down to not only just like kind of the structure you built around it, but how you literally showed how it has to evolve and it has to change. And it's funny how, yeah, you have a lot more structure now because it grew out, but you had to build out a team. When it comes to building out that team and when it comes to building out that network, it's great that you have people all over the world, but of course you have to support because regulations, right, is different in different countries, different places. For those who really don't understand maybe how that works, but how did you go about building out the team to where you can feel, hey, I have people I trust, to where I don't have to take on so much, I can fit more into this structure? How did you build out your team?
Yeah, definitely. So that was very difficult in general. It's probably the most difficult thing on the planet. Getting a good team member is way more difficult than getting a client. So with that being said, I do want to go back real quick too and just add to that. In terms of my schedule, yes, it does evolve even within the year. In that tax season, I spend more hours on that 8-hour side of working. Sometimes it's 9, sometimes it's 10 hours in a given day. And then after tax season, it's more relaxed, it's more calm. And so maybe I'm working 6 hours some days, 4 hours some days, 8 hours some days. So it just depends. So yeah, there's some adaptability there. But as far as going back to the team topic, it's the most complicated thing I've ever done in business. I'll tell you this is the year that I truly learned. We've had so much betrayal, so much disloyalty within our business.
Yeah.
So right now, I mentioned we have a team of 20 people. Across the entire almost 10 years of running the business, we've had about 100 people in the organization.
Wow. Okay.
So that means we've parted ways where people left 80 out of 100.
Yeah.
And then there's 20 left. So that means that we've fired, let go, or parted ways with more people than are currently here. Yeah. So that tells you, basically, there's a notion called hire slow and fire fast. Hire slow and fire fast.
Heard of that one.
Yeah, and I thought it was a mean term. And why are you doing this? And I'm like, man, it is more true today than it is ever. In that, basically, we put team members on a 90-day watch when they first start. We were always watching, but in the beginning, the first 90 days, we're on them like a hawk, basically. How are they reacting to clients? Are they saying the right things? What's their attitude like? Are they consistent over that 90-day period? Are they just throwing up a week and then gone the following week? And so we test them out that way. But our business model, so we have more 1099 contractors. We don't do W-2s because we have a more entrepreneurship based model, which we are slowly, sort of doing a hybrid a bit now. Okay. People have gone out, started their own business, right? Using our own systems. But something that a team member told me is they can try to imitate you as much as possible, but they will never, ever be you, because there's always that secret formula like Coca-Cola that they will never understand what it is, let alone how to implement it the right way. And so I would say that building a team is extremely difficult. Shout out to our most loyal team members, our most dedicated team members. But in business, it's very, very hard to find hardworking, dedicated, committed people. There's a lot of complacency. A lot of people are entitled. They feel so entitled to everything you have. And, it's very difficult. I just say that I don't want to sugarcoat this topic or anything like that, because it's something we realize and we're living through right now. We're struggling with right now. But we're just grateful to have our dedicated 20 team members, and we're going to roll with that, for this year and probably next year as well.
Good. Yeah, and I noticed because as you were mentioning how you traveled last year, I noticed you said at one point you had 25 people, and then you kept coming back to 20. I'm like, oh, what happened to the 5? What happened? But that's life. I've been there. It's very similar to model I've always worked with, which is working with 1099s and contractors and freelancers on projects. And I think it's about the same. I've let parted ways with people more so than the people I've stayed connected with. But the people, like you said, the people that are tight with you, man, they tight, and it's like it's a great bond. We just celebrated the certification of one of our other team members who just got certification in graphic design.
Exactly. And I'll
So
add too that you want to take great care of these people too. You know,
exactly.
they've been loyal to you. They've been doing great work. Now, if they're doing bad work, that's another story. But they're
That's all.
loyal and doing good work. Take care of them. You know, just give them a treat, a bonus, a trip,
Yeah.
a gift, something to show that token of appreciation. They will be even more loyal than they currently are.
That's right. People want to be acknowledged and appreciated. That's really what it comes down to. Like you said, it's not just money, it's overall. I'm gonna make sure I get two things from you. Number one, this is Black History Month. It's very important, very impactful month. We look back on the history, look back on the legacy and so many things that have been accomplished. What kind of a legacy do you want to leave? When people think Jeff Badu, what do you want them to think about? What's the brand that you'll leave them with, if you will?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for that, Aaron. And so, number one, wealth multiplier, somebody who helped multiply wealth in ways that they never knew existed, and not only impacted them, but 1,000+ generations that came after them. They created multi-generational wealth, just like the Rockefellers, something that I taught them, and they learned through other means as well. But I taught them, and they learned through our systems and our strategies and everything like that. And overall, the guy who inspired and supported the super hungry to take hold of infinite resources in order to create an abundant lifestyle.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well put together. Well put together. And the last thing I want to get from you, you mentioned a book. I know I believe you've written a couple books, though.
5 books total.
Yeah,
Yes,
I was going to say, wait a minute, because I'm like, I know I have two, so what the heck? You only mentioned one. What of your writing? Because normally I ask people like a book they could recommend. One of your books, what would you recommend for a person entering your field, right? Or a person who's maybe just getting started in entrepreneur in general, maybe not just your field, but entrepreneur in general. Which one of your books would you think would be the best one for them to start with, or a good one to help them with some guidance and assistance?
Yeah, always Infinite Expansion, the book Infinite Expansion, available on Amazon and my personal website, jeffbadu.com. But yeah, that book is about my life story, my life's purpose. And it goes back, the thing about business is not just about money and charts and clients and team members. It's about purpose. It's about a brand, a vision, a mission, a common goal, right? And so I really break it down into even whether you already have the business, you're about to start the business, like, should you even be running this business? That's the first question. And so that book, Infinite Expansion, goes to that. And then once you make that decision, yes, it tells you how to expand. It shows you how to expand it in infinite ways that you never knew existed.
Okay, now that is definitely the book everybody, not just one person, not just one group, should you run that business? Because that is a question I've, people try to keep making me a coach. I'm like, I'm not a coach. They're like, oh, but you're helping me, guiding me. The thing that always comes back to me and that question comes up is when I get to them, like, are you sure you really want to be running a business, and you want to run a business for yourself? Maybe you want to be a contractor, freelancer, but not necessarily a full-fledged business owner. That's a little different, right? It's a little different.
Right.
And person like yourself definitely understands that, and it's good to hear from your perspective. So what's the name of the book again? Let's make sure everybody got it.
It's called Infinite Expansion: How to Infinitely Expand Your Vision of Abundance.
Absolutely perfect. That link is in the description of this episode. We're only going to go to your website because we don't know those guys over there. that other book place that sells books. We like your bookstore better. Thank you so much, Jeff. Appreciate your time. I know you got a heart out, but appreciate everything. I just want to drop real quick, everybody. I've known Jeff for a few years now. When I say a few years, I mean really like a decade darn near. Because of a network, right? I was connected through Jeff, through a photographer that I knew. Get out there, to his point. The people who know you, the photographer reached out to me about doing marketing and doing the website for the facility. He reached out to Jeff because he knew Jeff was doing the radio show and was doing a couple things to get his business out there. We got connected through another individual. That's the whole point. You build out your network. You build out the people that you know, people that you trust, and it doesn't have to be people that are paying you. That's not your network necessarily. It's the people that just, hey, I know you. I know what you do. I got a person you need to meet. Jeff, thank you so much. Best to you and yours, and congratulations once again. Best to you and your family. Okay, my friend?
Hey, man. Thank you, Aaron. Appreciate you, and appreciate everybody for listening to this as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everybody. Well, thank you once again, guys, for joining us for a special edition episode of the Ambition Show podcast. Be sure to make sure, and I don't always do this, but be sure to like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for the Ambition Show podcast right here on YouTube, because we have a lot of big interviews coming up with guests just like Jeff, where they're sharing their journey, they're sharing their tales, but also they're dropping gems that you can take, whether you're a new entrepreneur, you're just getting started, you're leaving a full-time job, maybe you're side hustling and trying to transition to being an entrepreneur, from many different places, not just from right here in Chicago, but also all around the US, all around the world. We're going to be speaking to entrepreneurs, freelancers, contractors, consultants, people who can really share their stories, where they've been, and actually where they're going, because maybe some of them are just starting out. We have a lot of big stuff planned for the next season coming up. So please be sure, I don't always ask for this, please, little like, that little check, little share with a friend. Don't be selfish. Come on now. Subscribe, because, well, I'm right there in that little area off to the left. Do you see my little subscription? Be like, hey, or whatever picture I'm posting up there that day. And hit that notification bell so you can ring that bell. Ring the bell so you can know when I'm dropping a new episode. We have a new guest. We have something popping up right there for you. Be sure to do those 4 things. Support the show. Support us. Support the community. You're a part of this community. Let's get it. All right, now I got to cut because I got a project to finish up myself. Best to you and yours. Peace.